Welcome back. I'm so excited that you're here. My name is Cheryl, and I use they, them pronouns. I am your queer mystic who is autistic, and I have just had the most amazing morning. What we were talking about today in my first call of the day was accommodations and how I can show how to accommodate yourself more and more and how to even know when you require accommodations inside of social media content. And so, while this is not what we're going to do today, I am really excited to start pumping that content out on my Instagram at the Cheryl Folland. If you're not already following me over there and you are still using Meta, I would be so excited to see you. Let me know in the comments of a post somewhere over on my Instagram where you're from, something that delights you, or a cheeky unknown fact. Just go comment it totally random on any given post, and it can be our little inside joke that has nothing to do with the context of whatever post you're posting on. It'll be really fun and it'll drive all of the non autistic people nuts. They'll be like, why is this comment here? It's so weird. It doesn't relate to anything. We're like, well, if you know, you know. Okay, so let's talk about this. Instead of me showing you ways to accommodate yourself today, I would like to talk to you about how to know when maybe you need an accommodation. If you are new to being a highly masked, autistic, or otherwise neurodivergent person, and you've started to realize that your exhaustion, or maybe you haven't, and you'll realize it right now. You've started to realize that your exhaustion, your irritability, your fluctuating capacity, your sensitivity to sound, to touch, your ability to regulate your temperature, or even to notice when you're tired or hungry or thirsty. You don't know what's wrong. You just know that something is wrong, and you become emotionally sensitive, dysregulated, or tuned out. If you're at that stage of your journey where you can't figure out why any of this is happening to you, hi, it's because you expect yourself to be able to overcome autism. That's not a thing that's ever going to happen because you're not broken. Your nervous system is built differently than you've been trained your entire life. This has come up time and time again in the last 3 weeks with multiple clients. Most of my clients are either queer non binary people or women between the ages of 25 and 55. And for those of you who are over 30, the number one thing that you tell me in our one on one chats are, Cheryl, I had no idea that everyone else didn't experience sensations the way I do. I had no idea that it didn't cause other people physical pain to hear certain sounds, to feel certain textures. I didn't know. I just assumed that everyone else had a better pain tolerance than me. I didn't know that everyone else didn't think about these things. I didn't know that people didn't notice the texture of their clothing on their skin. I didn't know that other people weren't overwhelmed by perfume smells. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. I just assumed that I was bad at managing it. That is the number one pervasive thought that has come forward in the last month. That is internalized ableism. You expect that if your experience is different than other people, whether or not you know what their experience is, but if you perceive with your really good pattern recognition skills and people telling you, why does that bother you? Doesn't bother me. Well, good for you, Karen. Bothers me. Anyway, I digress. If you recognize that you are different and you make that a moral failure, like you're not good enough, you're not trying hard enough, you're not measuring up, that is a clue that you're jumping to shame and blame instead of finding an accommodation for yourself. Accommodations can look like I need this in writing. I need you to always communicate to me in writing. I do not remember verbal instructions. I don't remember verbal instructions. I need you to communicate in writing. I need to know exactly how long this meeting is going to take before I can agree to show up or not. If I show up for a meeting, for example, if I show up for a meeting and they're telling me that we're going to discuss, because I work with like many teams as a community navigator inside of their membership spaces. I work with teams as a copywriter. I work with teams as a client success person. So I'm in these group concepts and they say, okay, so we're going to get on a team call and we're going to talk about XYZ. And if we haven't talked about one of the things that we're meant to have talked about by 15 or 20 minutes in, then I start to get irrationally angry, like irrationally angry. The output that's coming from my nervous system does not match the input that's coming on the call. Because as an autistic person, it feels like you lied to me and it triggers justice sensitivity thing. And I react to like the perception of someone being dishonest. I feel like I prepared for the wrong thing and it triggers me. Maybe I was confused. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I missed something here. Everyone else seems perfectly content and happy. So I immediately go to shaming and judging myself instead of putting my hand up or typing in the chat or using my turn to talk and say, hey, we said this meeting was going to be about this, and this. Can I get an outline or an itinerary so that I know what we're focusing on? Because right now I'm really confused. And when I'm confused, I cannot participate effectively. The reason we don't like to ask for accommodations is because we're ashamed that we need them. I want you to hear that. The reason you don't want to ask for accommodations in your life or give them to yourself when no one is looking is because you're ashamed at some level, resentful, angry, annoyed that you need them. Let me ask you this. Is it shameful to need a napkin when you're eating and you get grease on your face? Is it shameful for me to wear glasses because my eyes need them? No. Is it shameful to put on a winter jacket when it's snowing outside? No. No, it's not, right? Is it shameful to cut your food into smaller pieces so that you can eat it better? At what point does modifying your behavior, your surroundings, your communication go from something you need that will make your life better, easier, more accessible, more effortless, more enjoyable? At what point does it go from just being a thing everyone does to shameful? And what are you making it mean about yourself? So, some examples of accommodations is in my life, I've learned that I get overstimulated from visual information as much as I do from auditory information. In my spiky profile, go look up spiky profile. In my spiky profile, my sensory needs are like very high. Like I'm a high support needs when it comes to sensory. And I waited 35 years to get headphones to wear in public because I was worried about what other people would think about me for needing them. And I tell you, the very first time I walked through a public event with noise canceling headphones on was the very first time I've ever been physically relaxed in my body at a public event. Instead of only being able to stay for 30 minutes, I stayed for hours. And yes, I was still tired at the end, but I wasn't depleted. It gave me a buffer, allowed me to participate. And no one actually cared. And if they did, they didn't say anything or made it known on their face, right? I was just wearing my headphones and nobody gave a rip. Another way I've recently done this because of visual audio stimuli is I've put like sun filtering curtains on all my windows so that when it's really, really bright and my eyes start to hurt and it makes all of my other senses very sensitive, I can adjust the light in the room by opening and closing the curtains just so that only a bare minimum of light comes through, even though I've got all these big, beautiful windows. I'm sitting in front of one right now. My sensory needs so that I don't have to wear sunglasses in my house. I require dimmer rooms. So I've had to get creative about that. Another way I've adjusted for my visual stimuli is I've edited my wardrobe and my linens to be solid colors whenever possible. Because as much as I loved the patterns, at the end of the day, when I was trying to get ready for bed and my pajama top didn't match the sheets, that didn't match the curtains, that didn't match the blanket, there was too much information for my brain to be able to relax before I went to bed. So I was like, what if I just over time swapped everything out for solid colors? And it's done wonders. Not only has it helped it be easier for me to go to bed at night because everything is just kind of like green and neutral. So I've got like robin egg blue wall and I've got like a nice olive-ish colored bedspread on one side and it's cream colored on the other. And then I've got sheets that are just like neutral gray colors. And there's not a lot of art on the wall. My bedroom is very minimalistic because I need low sensory stimulating environment in order to relax and to sleep. And you know what? I'm so annoyed that I resisted that for so long because I was like, well, I should be able to just have a patterned shirt without it causing me sensory harm or whatever. Why? Why should I? Why do I make it a shame thing? Whenever we use the word should, they should do this, I should do this, you shouldn't be that way. There is morality and shame attached to it. Most of the things that we do on any given day in our human life are neutral. They're just things. And we get to decide what has meaning and what doesn't. Right? You get to do the same thing with accommodations. So maybe you're not terrible at cooking. Maybe you just don't have the energy to peel all of the vegetables, chop all of the vegetables, deal with the heat and the smell and the all of these things. So you order takeout, not because you're addicted to junk food, but because it's meeting your needs with the energy that you have. And what if there were these other options where you could go in and buy already pre-cut veg, already pre-portioned meats or proteins if you're vegan? Like all of these things exist, but we feel guilt and we feel shame because we're like, I should be able to do everything from scratch. Why? Where's that belief coming from? Most of the things that are labeled as convenience items and convenience tools and convenience products were actually originally designed for or by disabled people as accommodations. Did you know that? It's a real fun rabbit hole to go down. Like the shoehorn. People are like, oh, you're so lazy. You can't put on your shoes. Well, actually, I have joint and body pain and nerve stuff that's none of your freaking business. Then why do you care if I use a shoehorn? Its purpose is to help you get your shoes on and off. Does it work? Yes. Do you care? Why? Why is it a moral failing to need an accommodation tool? Maybe you don't do well with last minute meetings, but you feel like you need to have your calendar available all of the time so that people can book with you because if it's not wide open, you might not get a client. I learned really quickly that I do not do well with less than 48 hours notice because I budget all of my energy very, very carefully and very efficiently. I make my schedule week to week to week in a way that will support my life and give me enough predictability in my nervous system so that if I manage to have less energy that week, I know exactly what's expected of me. And if I manage to have more energy that week because I'm feeling good and the stars have aligned and it's not too hot and it's not too cold, and there's an event I want to go to, I won't have someone book a call the day before the event, making me unable to live my life. There are way too many unmasked or masked um, neurodivergent people, autistic people out there that I work with, that I see, that are just trying to run a business like they don't have a disability. The number two thing that my clients all tell me at one point or another, and when they do, it's beautiful, even though it's hard to voice, because once they say this, we can finally deal with some of the stuff that's keeping them stuck. When they finally say this phrase, I hate that I'm disabled. Good. Because now you've moved past denial into anger, and anger is often a necessary step to acceptance. You're allowed to hate being disabled. Do you think that I always was super accepting and accommodating of my needs? I'm not even always super excessive, word salad. I'm not even always accessible and accommodating to my needs and accepting of it now. It often takes a little bit of brain Olympics for me to realize where the intensity is coming from and why I'm even upset. But did you know that if you started recognizing your needs for accommodations and giving them to yourself and then advocating for what you need in other places, a few things start to happen. You start to hate being disabled a little bit less. Because the more you empower yourself for asking for what you need and getting it, and then only engaging with people and places and things that will respect your autonomy and the things that you need, life starts to actually get easier because you're not pretending that you're fine until you can't pretend anymore. Yeah. The only reason the only reason there's so much resistance to the word disabled as an identity and as a truth of being is because of the shame of not enoughness that is heaped onto it. The only way to neutralize shame is through compassion, love, and acceptance. You are not going to behavior correct your way out of being disabled. You're not going to magically change society overnight either. But by recognizing when these stressors start to come up in you, where you're starting to get this stress response and you're starting to hear, I should just leave, I should just quit, I'm not good at this, this isn't for me. That's a clue that maybe you need some accommodations. Yeah. Maybe you need a buffer time before an event. Maybe you need buffer after an event. Maybe it's a couple hours. Maybe it's a couple of days. What would it feel like? What could it feel like to give yourself permission to experiment until you find the correct accommodation for yourself? What if you experimented without worrying about what other people are going to think about you? What if you adopted my rule of trying everything twice? Now, I don't mean literally everything. So if your flavor of autism is to take every single word very literally. I don't literally mean every single thing twice. What I mean is when you're trying something new, the first time you try it, it's going to feel foreign. It's going to feel odd. It's going to feel weird. You might not know how to make sense of it. So I always recommend trying something once and really being honest about how you feel and think about it. And then trying it again when you know what to expect. And it's after that second time, if the first time wasn't a total write off, because sometimes that happens, but it's after that second time that you can really know, is this for me or isn't it for me? Was it the stress of asking for an accommodation that freaked me out, or the actual accommodation that I asked for? Which thing is here? Am I stressed because I'm worried about how people are going to perceive me? Am I stressed that they might reject me? Do I have the ability to accommodate myself, or do I need outside help? But if you try everything 2 times, you take way less pressure, way less pressure off that first try. Yeah. So what if I had given up talking on the internet because I was really bad at it when I started? I don't know how far back my YouTube videos go. I may have deleted some of the worst, but if you go on my Instagram and you go all the way back to the beginning, I had a lot of heart, but I was not excellent at social media. I wasn't able to pay attention to the camera. I wasn't able to like be myself online. I was edited. I was afraid. I was scared. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I freaked out most of the time. And that's okay, because I knew that, like anything else that I learned, social media was a skill you could learn. Learning how to meet your needs, listen to the information that your body is giving you, and adjust and accommodate as necessary is a skill that you can learn. And this is a big portion of what we do inside of pocket coaching. Now, it's June 6th, 2025. And for this month into July, I'm not currently enrolling clients in pocket coaching, but you can go and get on the wait list for the July intake right now. Another way to work with me in this service is to join the Method of Magic membership. I will put the links below the video. If you are curious about human design, you're into astrology, you're into mysticism, you're into the gene keys, I am a community care coordinator and course navigator inside of Eden Carpenter's Method of Magic membership, alongside of some really amazing other people who are facilitators and teachers and practitioners in there. So those are the 2 ways to get follow-up help with this. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, and if there are certain specific things that you would like me to talk about, how to make this more accommodating. Like if you've got something that you struggle with, but you don't know what possible solutions there are to accommodate your needs in that context, comment below, send me a DM on Instagram, and I will create a reel or a post replying to that question. And I will absolutely keep it anonymous for you, so you don't have to worry about being perceived or judged. Okay. That's all I've got from me today. I look forward to hearing about you and everything that's going on in your world. Bye for now.